Dilemma number 1 is we have Rose, who is essentially wants to understand if she should stay or go as far as her marriage is concerned. So she wants to know whether she should very seriously consider leaving. So we have 2 people involved. We have Rose as the life code 4, and we have Captain, who is a life code 211. Now we'll put them there. Now, as you can see, Captain is represented as a pirate. So it'll be interesting to see what that means.
Welcome to the Sensitive Mind Show.
Your purpose in life as a sensitive is to experience the deeper parts of the mind, to move beyond fear and to manage your energy, no matter the circumstance. I'm going to show you, as a sensitive, how you can maximize your talents and feel comfortable in your own skin. For show notes and to join the conversation, visit heidisawyer.com/mind.
Okay, so this is what Rose has told us. So this is Rose. What's the situation? Difficulty neutralizing narcissistic husband's behavior. I used to shut down. Now I say, whatever. He seems more outraged. If I call him out on disrespecting me, he thinks it's all my fault. He wants to make up or smother me. Whenever I speak my emotions, straight feelings, he says I criticize him and I don't know what else to do. I've been to counselling and working on my self-development. I lately find myself constantly thinking about leaving. Part of me is torn because of my vows, and I love him when things are good. Otherwise, I feel drained and cohabiting. So what's the problem the situation creates? Communication breakdown. Unable to speak the truth on feelings, emotions, and feel disrespected. Anxiety, stress, and fatigue. He feels I am criticizing when I'm trying to communicate what and how I feel. I'm on high alert practically daily. I'm not able to be my true self if I can't do things or communicate. I do practice gratitude and give appreciation for help, but if disrespected, it does not faze him. So what is the question that she would like me to answer? If neutralizing does not work, is the heavy feeling of wanting to leave my gut pushing me to leave, or is it my ego talking to me for freedom? Okay, so what we have now is, should Rose how should she deal with her marriage? This is the question that she is asking. So what we have is these 2 life codes. Okay, so we have these 2 life codes that we'll look at first. So Rose is a life code 4 and Captain is a life code 211. So what's the general dynamic as far as this is concerned? Well, a life code 4 is all about love. Okay, so all of their dynamic in life is all about love. Now we have Rose here represented as someone feeling quite sad, sad that this situation is going on. And for a life code 4, anything that feels like a relationship conflict will feel like a very sad experience. It will feel painfully uncomfortable, even when other people, other life codes are more able to sort of, or think they are, more able to dust it off. Not necessarily they are, but they think they are. Whereas for a life code 4, anything to do with a relationship is going to be something really quite strong and of concern to them. Now, Captain as a life code 211, what does that mean in terms of the dynamic with the 4? Well, in this instance, where Captain is an unaware 211, as you can see almost in the tree, which is the 2 is positioned above the 4, and it can almost be like a dominance thing. Okay, so the 211 can be dominant or use the 4's desire to feel love and to feel loved as a ways and means of operating that person or controlling them or manipulating them. And if you imagine, as far as the tree of life is concerned, you've got that 2 position that feels above the 4. They've got a wider view on things. So that life code 211 has a wider view. So they can kind of see what the 4's vulnerabilities are, or the areas to be worked on. So I suspect very strongly that this life code 211 is very capable and consistently tries to manipulate this life code 4. It almost, in some situations, so that life code 211, especially an unaware one, can feel as though they're trying to operate that 4 life code, especially around love and feeling that they want to be loved. So if you imagine like a puppet on a string, and the life code 4, feeling that they are a little bit of a puppet dancing to the tune of whatever is the emotional state that 211 is in at any given time, especially as that unaware 211, where they can create absolute mayhem through their feelings of insecurity. Why? Well, because this is the ultimate male frequency, male energy. It's also along the more dynamic line, as in action. So especially as the 211, when they want to take action, it can be very fast, it can be very invasive, especially as an unaware 211 over the softer frequency, often the softer frequency of the 4 vibration. Okay, so let's have a look at what this dynamic is about. Let's have a look at how Captain is working that magic, working that puppet magic over that life code 4. Now, this may be something that occurs in your own life. You may feel that certain people have the ability to manipulate your own life, or you don't know who you become around them. Somehow or another they're able to tap into something that no one else seems to be able to, and you wonder why or how that happens. So especially around the life codes, that sometimes there are some real clear indications as to how these things occur, but also how these things can be managed. Because sometimes, as we find in life, it's really hard to bat off someone who is determined to manipulate situations or work what they want over and above equality or working with somebody. Okay, so when those happen in our lives, especially as a sensitive, that's very tiring. It's very soul destroying sometimes. It certainly impacts our sense of worth and self-esteem, because as a sensitive, often what we're doing is trying, not necessarily for approval, but we're trying to do our best, often by other people, more so than we do for ourselves. And I suspect that in Rose's case, this is something that's coming up. This will feature really quite strongly. So what we'll do is have a look at how that relationship or what's occurring around that. So we'll have a look with the archetypes. So we'll have a look at the archetypes as far as that's concerned. So I've got them here, they're upside down. What I use is the archetypes as a ways and means to access information. It's a very helpful way of looking at how our life unfolds and having a look at how we can see something or give a deeper root or a deeper expression of. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I think we're going to start with Captain, okay, because how Rose is feeling dominated by this situation. I'm going to have a look at Captain to see what he's up to, what it is that he's up to, before we have a little look at what Rose feels is the right thing for her to do. Okay, so let's have a look. I have them upside down. So I'm thinking of Captain right now, and let's have a little look, see what he's up to. What is he up to? Okay, so what we have here is the Hermit. Okay, so I asked specifically the question of what he's up to. what is he up to? What's he trying to do? Well, quite clearly what he's trying to do is create a scenario where Rose is feeling isolated. So the Hermit is about what's he up to, what's he doing, what's his purpose, why is he doing this? Well, it's about isolating Rose. Why would he want to do that? Well, it's quite often something that people who want to control situations do. They seek to isolate the person that they're trying to control. Why? Because they want to be the person that they're trying to control is dependent on. So I suspect that Captain, what he's up to, is trying to create that dynamic where Rose is dependent on Captain. More ways than one, not just necessarily financially, but certainly emotionally. Now, why would he be doing that? Well, I suspect there's some insecurity around that. And Rose, because her, as a life code 4, everything is about love, he'll be utilizing that. He'll be utilizing her emotions, especially around feeling loved, connection and all of that. And so he's trying to isolate her first before making it that she only sees him as the person of interest in her life, which is going back to the dingle dangles of the puppet. Okay, so let's have a look at Rose. How is this his attempts to isolate Rose, how is it really impacting her on a deep level? Because obviously she's trying to be upbeat about it. She's trying to work on herself, development side of her life. So what is it? How is it impacting her? Now remember, these are real people. I don't make these things up. Okay, these are real people's lives. These are real things. These are real situations that come up in people's lives. And they, it's not just this person, but it may even relate into your own life. And maybe you've had something that's a similar dynamic to what Rose is experiencing right now. So let's see how it's impacting Rose. What's it really doing to her system? Is it really having a hard impact on it, or is she coping better than she actually perceives? Let's have a look. So I'm thinking of Rose. Okay, I've got the archetypes upside down. I'm thinking of Rose, and let's see what we end up with. Okay, so we've got the mystic. So we've got the mystic for Rose. So actually she's coping with this a lot better than we would imagine. Now, why would she be coping with this a lot better than you would imagine if someone's trying to control your ways, your way in life? Well, she's managing this a lot better because she's really quite, to put it a better way, she's intuitive. The mystic is about using your intuition, using your instinct. And so he may think that he's actually being able to dangle this situation, but she's actually in more control of it than she thinks at times. So in actual fact, where he would seek to dominate in a stronger way than he currently is, she's actually deflected some of that by engaging her intuitive side. So he could have been a lot more invasive in how he seeks to control her life if she hadn't engaged this part of who she is, this mystic, and using her intuition and using her instinct. But let's have a little bit deeper as far as that's concerned, around Rose. So let's have a little look. So I'm thinking of Rose again. So Rose is now getting really cross. Okay, so we have the Avenger. So if this continues, interestingly enough, if this continues as far as Rose is concerned, with this behaviour and trying to isolate her, trying to make life difficult for her, she's actually a lot stronger in her way of dealing with it than she perhaps has been previously. So this intuitive side of her, how she's been engaging it over a period of time, has actually ignited the Avenger. And does that mean that she's suddenly going to get really quite malicious? No, it means that she's not having any of it. Okay, so in actual fact, her love for herself has grown in strength to the degree where she's not having it anymore. She's not having it anymore. She's not going to be putting up with it. So he's going to have to soften his ways, or, yes, indeed, her desire to change her circumstance, change her life is going to get stronger and stronger. So the question is, if neutralizing does not work, is the heavy feeling of wanting to leave my gut pushing me to leave, or is it my ego talking to me about freedom? No, what this is actually saying is she's had enough. And if he doesn't ease up on this manipulation and trying to control her, that this Avenger in her is going to get really quite strong, and her way of handling him is going to be so strong that he cannot, she'll literally cut those puppet strings. So does it mean that she'll actually physically leave, or does it mean that she just becomes more and more difficult to control? I suspect is that she becomes more and more difficult to control, but let's have a little look quickly to see what is the outcome as far as this dynamic is concerned. Okay, so we've got the networker. So this is interesting. Now, quite often, if someone is trying to isolate us or trying to create a situation where it's difficult for us to communicate with other people, what they do is they work hard to create that isolation. So Captain has been working hard to create that isolation. So what is Rose's Avenger up to? What's that going to do? Well, she's going to start talking. The networker means she's going to start involving other people in the scenario of actually saying, well, no, this is what's happening in my life. I'm going to start talking about it. And for someone who's trying to control, especially as this 211, where he's trying to control this person who doesn't want to be controlled, what he's going to do is find that very hard to grab her back in and get her to do exactly what he wants her to do, because she's communicating. And in actual fact, this is very instinctual, very much using her intuitive process to not fight a situation, but actually to start accessing a higher level of communication in her own world, which is an indication of love for herself, and that takes his manipulation power away. So what we're saying here is this her feeling that she wants to leave? I would say, well, she's not necessarily going to leave right now, but her power comes through mastering her own environment, which is this huge amount of communication, which means that it's very difficult for him to control her. Okay, and that communication isn't involving him, it's involving a wider picture. And often people who behave in an unsavory manner, their biggest fear is other people knowing. So what can we learn from this situation? Well, we can learn that sometimes it is actually possible to master our environment without having to change it, and we can then choose to change it when we're ready to change it, or when the situation becomes clearer. And in this scenario, not in all scenarios, but in this scenario, Rose, through developing her own inner world, has actually created a stronger self and the confidence, which isn't quite there yet, but we're seeing that, but has then developed the confidence to communicate, so that Captain's secret desire to keep her under wraps and control and isolated isn't working. Okay, so sometimes the best solution in these types of scenarios is actually to tell people, and tell them loud and clear, and not keep the secrecy. For more great free content designed to support your purchase of my book, Highly Intuitive People, 7 Right Brain Traits to Change the Lives of Intuitive Sensitive People, please visit finallyfeelunderstood.com. There you can subscribe and download for free the meditation specific to today's episode. If you have already read the book, then it's time for you to receive exclusive access and support from me and your fellow intuitive sensitives as we go deeper together along this proven 7-step path by joining us in my monthly membership program called Heidi's Circle. There you can ask me anything in a safe and private environment, and I will answer you live. Join us today by visiting healmyinnerworld.com.